Growing macadamia nuts in Northern California seems to be one of those well-kept secrets of gardening. Where plants grow has not so much to do with the plant's ability, it has to do with our belief. If we believe that the plant will grow in a given area, there's a good possibility that we'll give it a try and it might succeed. If we don't believe it, we never try it, and so it never happens. The macadamia nut is one of those examples. Most of us associate this plant with Hawaii. It actually comes from Queensland, Australia. But we have this mindset that the plant grows only out there on the islands in the middle of the Pacific, so we don't try to put them in our backyard. Right here behind me is an excellent specimen. Now this is in Fremont, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. You'll see here the juvenile nuts are hanging over here in the limbs all around me. It's got a pretty good crop on it this year. The plant is fairly drought tolerant. It doesn't require a lot of fertilizer. It blooms twice a year and the flowers are very fragrant. So if you like things that put perfume in the air in your yard, this is it. We all know the nuts are worth a lot of money, and so they're really nice to have as a garden crop. It's one of my favorite sources of protein in the backyard. This tree here in front of us is a 15-year-old Beaumont. Beaumont seems to be one of the few varieties that's actually available as a grafted cultivar in the state. I think to get better nut set on the plants, it would require putting in seedlings from the Beaumont so you get good cross-pollination. This plant has stood here alone for years. I'm now finally resorting to growing myself some seedling plants. This basket contains ripe macadamia nuts. They were harvested between February and April. The husks have now dried and cracked, exposing the nuts on the inside. This flat contains macadamia nuts. The plants are approximately 2 months old. It takes them somewhere in the vicinity of about 30 days to sprout the seed. The seeds are prepared by removing them from the husks and placing them into a soil medium. No particular special care or concerns with this. Just making sure the seed stays relatively warm. I'm using a heater cable underneath the seeds that was set for 76 degrees. One of the reasons that I bother to raise macadamia nut from seed in California, because there seems to be a limited number of varieties that are actually available here within the state. The parent of these seedlings is a Beaumont. Beaumont is a hybrid macadamia nut between two of the species trees. There isn't enough pollination as far as I'm concerned in my mac orchard, so I'm raising seedling trees. The seedling trees should be genetically variable, and I'm going to use some of these seedlings as pollinators for my Beaumont. Here at the potting bench I have some macadamia nut trees that were grown in open bottom tree tubes so that they air prune on the bottom. The trees are approximately 60 days from germination. Using 1 gallon nursery pots over here in order to be able to containerize them for the first stage of their development. With a conventional potting soil, adding to it a little bit of a time-released fertilizer. Osmocote here in the background is what's going into the pot, 1 tablespoon for each tree seedling. For now, here's the finished product. We've transferred macadamia nuts from the greenhouse out of their liners into 1 gallon pots and set them down here in the summer sun so they can grow up a while. We're going to go ahead and move them onto 5 gallons later on this summer if they size up enough. Otherwise, if they don't, we'll have to wait till next spring before they shift upward. Well, if you do well growing macadamia nuts around here, you're going to have to own one of these. This is a macadamia nut cracker. We take our nut right here and place it in the jaw, take the handle, push it forward till we hear the crack. These are hard little suckers. I'm going to have to give the nut a half turn, and then maybe sometimes a little even more, in order to get this busted open up that we can actually get inside there. We don't want to pulverize the nut. Right here, absolutely delicious. There's nothing like fresh grown macadamia nuts, I'm telling you. It's just so hard to imagine that it's mostly our belief system that keeps us from doing this. People plant walnuts around here, they plant almonds, but almost nobody, except the most adventurous gardeners, will plant the macadamia nut.